The coffee was still warm when Professor Daniel Harper vanished in the Clintonville neighborhood of Columbus, Ohio, population 34,712. The last Saturday morning in October arrived with a thin fog shrouding the rows of yellowing maple trees along High Street. At 6:42 a.m., old Harper's neighbor, Walter Briggs, saw the 52-year-old man in a brown coat, carrying his familiar leather briefcase, step out of the two-story red brick house. Harper was on his way to McPherson Hall, the building where he taught at Ohio State University, less than a mile from home. That briefcase, the item he never parted with, contained lecture notes, a few personal memos, and an old family photo in a plastic frame slightly cracked at the corner. The neighbor watched until Harper's figure faded into the fog, his brown coat the last streak of color on the quiet street. What happened in the hours that followed would haunt Columbus for the next 16 years. Before diving deeper into the story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the latest cases. Late October 2006, Columbus, Ohio, was blanketed in a thin morning fog of the early cold season. In the quiet neighborhood near Clintonville, yellow leaves fell thickly around the brick-paved walkways, the breath of autumn seeming to slow. Professor Daniel Harper's house, at 1240, still had the kitchen light on. Where the 52-year-old man, a communications lecturer at Ohio State University, was brewing coffee and organizing documents for his weekend class. Harper lived alone, his routine so regular that neighbors could predict his departure time just by the sound of the garage door opening. That morning, he wore a gray coat, carried a brown leather briefcase, and nodded hello to the neighbor fetching the paper. That image, ordinary and peaceful, would later be recalled repeatedly as the last moment anyone saw him existing in this world. As the clock passed noon, the department administration noticed Harper was absent from the scheduled faculty meeting. A few calls were made, all unanswered. His cell phone was off, voicemail full, and emails unopened since the previous night. By afternoon, students in his class waited in vain for the lecturer and reported to the department office that something was unusual. Harper's colleagues, accustomed to his meticulous and punctual nature, began to worry. They tried stopping by his house, but got no answer. As dusk fell, the house still had the porch light on, the Ford Taurus still in the garage. After multiple unanswered calls, his eldest daughter contacted her mother in Houston, reporting that her father had been missing for a full day. Unease spread through the family. This was unlike anything that had ever happened before. Harper had no habit of traveling far, let alone leaving home without telling anyone. After a quick phone exchange, relatives decided to report to local police. That evening, information about a missing university professor was entered into the Columbus Police Department system, marking the start of a case no one expected would drag on for years. When the report reached the duty desk, 2 patrol officers arrived at the small house on Oakland Park within minutes. The street was empty, pale yellow light spilling from the front porch. The house door was ajar, the interior lock undamaged. One of the officers knocked and called the homeowner's name several times, hearing no response, then pushed the door open and stepped inside. The house was completely silent. The scent of cooled coffee lingered in the air. The kitchen was clean, dishes neat, no signs of overturning or struggle. On the dining table lay the morning paper, folded neatly. In the living room, the sofa was straight, TV off, air conditioning set low. Upstairs was also normal, bed made flat, blanket folded, bedroom light off. In the garage check, they found Harper's silver Ford Taurus parked inside, doors locked, gas tank nearly full, spare key still on the hook. All valuables were intact: computer, watch, wallet, Idaho, bank cards. Nothing suggested the homeowner was preparing to leave. When the forensics team arrived to document the scene, they noted the brown leather briefcase Harper carried daily was missing from the house. On the desk, the planner was open, the last page listing the week's lectures, none crossed off. An empty coffee mug sat dried on the kitchen counter, no spills or strange footprints around it. Police photographed, took fingerprints from doorknobs, and the desk. No evidence of break-in or theft, but the house frozen mid-routine made everyone sense something off. Neighbors questioned all told the same story. Early morning they saw Harper leave home with his document briefcase, nod hello, then head toward High Street. After that, no one saw him return. One across the street remembered the porch light stayed on all day, rare since Harper was frugal and always turned it off before leaving. Another heard a car starting early but wasn't sure if it was his. Small details were noted, compiled into the initial report. By midnight, Lieutenant Cole Keller, officer in charge of the North District shift, read the statement and determined this was not a routine missing contact. Harper leaving his car, phone and wallet, plus the missing personal briefcase, nearly ruled out voluntary departure. He ordered forensics to file the scene, seal main living areas, and thoroughly check entrances. An evidence list was created with photos of each room. The record noted, no signs of forced entry, no struggle, no cash or property taken. The report was immediately entered into the operations system with ID #06 1128 and description missing adult. Suspicious circumstances. At the same time, Keller contacted OSU's communications department to confirm Harper's schedule and gather data on his last calls or emails. The disappearance of a prominent professor in the calm of a middle-class residential area immediately drew more police attention than usual. Every physical element at the scene seemed to deny he had voluntarily abandoned his life. As the investigation team left at dawn, the house was sealed, porch light still glowing through the fence. In the internal report, Keller concluded, no clear crime signs, but circumstances inconsistent with voluntary behavior. Need to continue gathering data and determine absence cause. With that note, Professor Daniel Harper's disappearance case was officially opened for investigation. The next morning, with the scene report complete, the Columbus Police Department began the official search phase around Professor Daniel Harper's home. The Clintonville area was temporarily cordoned off within 3 blocks. Officers with maps divided into small teams to comb every alley, park, and nearby parking lot. Another group coordinated with civilian rescue using K-9 units, starting from the backyard then expanding the search radius to 2 miles. The foggy morning and low temperatures slowed the work, but no one rushed. Every step was careful, as in the early stage of a missing person case, any small trace could be vital. Keller was on site, requiring teams to log time and location of any unusual finds. Sidewalk trash bags were opened and checked, drains and mailboxes along the road closely inspected. They found nothing but scraps of paper and a torn glove of unknown origin. Police simultaneously swept routes Harper might have taken that morning. From his home to Ohio State University was just over 3 miles, a straight path through residential areas, then connecting to the High Street segment leading to the South Campus gate. City security cameras at the time weren't comprehensive, only at major intersections and one at a nearby convenience store. When tech reviewed the tapes, they saw a blurry image of a tall man in a gray coat holding a document briefcase walking toward downtown that missing morning. Low resolution prevented facial ID, but the timestamp matched when neighbors saw Harper leave. From there, investigators confirmed his main direction was toward the university. Meanwhile, a second search team focused on the OSU campus. Campus security was asked to check offices, seminar rooms, basements, and faculty parking. Buildings adjacent to McPherson Hall were also swept to ensure nothing was missed. Lab interns said they hadn't seen the professor since the previous week. His lecture schedule was blank in the system from that morning. Tech brought Harper's portrait to each office for questions, but no one saw him on the disappearance day. Temporary notices were posted around campus requesting info if anyone met or spoke with him on the morning of October 28th. Keller checked faculty parking where Harper usually parked when not walking. No matching plates, and gate access logs showed no vehicle registered to him exited during the suspect time. Another team swept the old rail line behind Clintonville, occasionally used by transients, but found only old kids' shoe prints and damp wood scraps. After 2 days, the search expanded to nearby parks, Whetstone, Antrim, and along the Olentangy River, all yielded no results. Keller's daily reports showed no new physical leads. He requested rechecking Harper's call logs. Provider records confirmed the last call was the previous evening. No unusual signals, no contacts outside Columbus. This led police to believe the victim hadn't left the city. At the end of the first week, investigators met to compile results. 18 locations searched, 6 witnesses interviewed, 43 security photos reviewed, but no verified trace leading to where Harper might have gone. All data stopped at him, leaving home, walking toward campus with his briefcase. Beyond that detail, nothing else. Keller noted in the end-of-day report, movement direction confirmed via residential camera. Subject vanishes after passing Oakland Park, High Street intersection. No further traces or personal items found. The search was paused for plan re-evaluation, and all image data, witness statements transferred to the department's analysis unit. After 3 days of fruitless searching, Lieutenant Keller shifted investigation focus to the Ohio State University campus, believed to be Professor Daniel Harper's final destination. He contacted campus security, requesting all entry-exit data and surveillance footage from dawn to noon on October 28. The OSU system logged Harper's employee card swiped at McPherson Hall's main entrance that morning. The data was clear. His personnel code authenticated, door open for 7 seconds, no technical error. However, throughout that day, no exit swipe with the same card. This meant he entered the building but was never recorded leaving. The investigation team checked the list of card swipes in the adjacent time. Besides Harper, only 3 graduate students and 1 maintenance worker, all verified arriving after 7 a.m. when the hallway was empty. Camera data was extracted from campus storage, recording the main McPherson Hall entrance. The footage showed Harper entering while it was still dim. Gray coat, briefcase on left shoulder. He walked slowly, slightly hunched while swiping, then pushed the door in. No one with him, no other figures in frame. A few seconds later, he vanished behind the glass door. The last time campus cameras captured him. When tech checked internal hallway cameras, they found the image sequence interrupted. Recording from 6:18 to 6:21 a.m. showed no data, just black screen with a few noisy bright frames. After that, cameras worked normally, capturing students and staff as usual. Security explained the system was still magnetic tape storage, prone to random disconnect errors. But that blank period exactly matched Harper's entry time. Keller ordered full backup of recordings for evidence and checked emergency exits, side paths, and technical basements. Each exit had separate magnetic locks and door sensors, but none activated that morning. Night security guards said they saw no unusual comings-goings. One recalled a light noise on the second floor near 7, thought it was cleaning staff so didn't check further. Police went to every office in the building, questioning faculty and admin staff, but no one saw Harper on the disappearance day. The attendance sheet for his morning class remained blank. Students arrived and left when the lecturer didn't appear. In Harper's third-floor office, everything was tidy. Textbooks, files, lecture samples, old coffee mug, still half full. No signs of strangers. However, on the desk was a family photo frame face down. No one knew why he left it that way. A colleague said, normally he kept the wife and kids photo in easy view. Forensics took fingerprints from the desk and doorknobs and scanned footprints in the hallway. Powder revealed a few shoe prints smaller than Harper's size, but owner unidentified. After completing the sweep, Keller concluded McPherson Hall was the last verified location of Professor Harper's presence. All card access data, cameras, and witness statements converged on one point. He entered the building that morning and then vanished. In the report to department leadership, Keller noted, no exit record, no signs of leaving via side paths, interrupted hallway footage, need continued camera system analysis, and full technical area check. With this interim conclusion, the investigation entered the phase of determining what happened inside the building on the morning of October 28, where the professor's traces ended completely. As the information from Ohio State University was compiled, Lieutenant Keller returned to the primary scene for a final sweep. Professor Harper's house remained sealed after the investigation team left. Yellow caution tape still wrapped around the low wooden fence. The goal of this check was to find any physical evidence that could link to his departure that morning. The forensics team began by re-examining the entrances. On the back doorknob, they discovered a very small red fabric fiber caught in the metal gap between the latch and the frame. The sample was carefully removed, sealed, and numbered. Under illumination, the fiber reflected lightly as if synthetic, possibly from clothing or a scarf. Beyond this detail, no additional strange traces, floors clean, no shoe dust, rugs undisturbed. Keller ordered full room video from multiple angles, preserved for later comparison. In the study, the desk was tidy to the point of being almost impersonal. Files stacked neatly, pen parallel to the notebook edge. Wall clock stopped at 6:32 due to dead battery. No signs of break-in or searching, front door and window locks intact. Desktop computer still powered, but password protected. Screen showed work folder open from the previous day. When Tech checked usage history, the last access was around midnight. This matched Harper's habit of working late to finalize lesson plans. In the corner was a ceiling-high bookshelf, some volumes labeled from the communications department, none recently pulled. On the middle shelf was another family photo frame, old and faded, but unlike the one face down in his campus office, this one faced straight toward the window, untouched. Forensics took fingerprints from the desk and doorknobs. All belonged to Harper, no foreign prints. In the kitchen, items remained as that morning: empty coffee mug, spoon askew beside it, plate with small crumbs. Those details held no evidentiary value, but reflected the owner's orderly life, and further confirmed he left in a normal state. No signs of coercion. Outside, grass evenly mowed, no strange tire tracks or footprints beyond police imprints. Garage still locked, no scratches. Keller noted, no signs of forced entry, no missing property, no physical evidence of violence. The only notable item was the missing briefcase, which Harper always carried when leaving home. The investigation team cataloged his daily items for comparison: keys, wallet, phone, watch, faculty ID, all at home. Only the briefcase and its contents vanished. In the report section, Keller assessed it might be what he took to work that morning, or handed to someone else. He ordered expanding the check radius 2 more blocks, focusing on residential cameras, traffic poles, and public parking. Though security devices were sparse then, a few homes had front door cameras. They agreed to review tapes. Most captured only blurry images, but all agreed. Harper walked alone, left hand holding briefcase, steady steps south, calm demeanor. No one saw anyone with him or vehicles stopping near. After compiling, Keller concluded the initial investigation phase that there was no clear crime evidence at the residence, but the sudden disappearance and carrying only one item made the hypothesis of meeting someone before leaving plausible. In the end-of-day statement, he wrote, "Victim's next direction undetermined. Scene condition suggests possible meeting with acquaintance or departure with another." Attached was the evidence list, including the red fiber, scene photos, fingerprint copies, and door lock inspection minutes. The case file was updated with a short note. Last confirmed presence, residence. No evidence of struggle. Possible voluntary departure with known person. All they had at this point was a silent house and a few small details, not yet enough to form a complete story. When the home scene sweep yielded no further leads, Lieutenant Keller returned to Ohio State University to recheck security department reports. He wanted to ensure everyone present on campus that morning was verified. Security provided the list of night and morning shift staff. In the morning shift statement, one small detail caught Keller's attention. Early in the shift, a light-haired woman came to the South Gate guard booth, asking directions to McPherson Hall. The guard on duty, Sanders, recounted that the woman appeared while it was still foggy dim, dressed neatly, Southern accent, seeming confident, like someone familiar with the area. She asked briefly how to get to the communications faculty offices, thanked him, and left. Sanders saw nothing unusual so didn't log it. but he clearly remembered the voice and hair color because the woman didn't seem like a student. When Keller requested rechecking gate camera footage, OSU Tech extracted the tape from the same time. The screen showed a blurry frame due to weak autumn morning light, but clearly a black SUV stopped for a few seconds at the guard cabin. The vehicle moved slowly, window down, an arm pointing directions. The driver had light blonde hair, large sunglasses, light coat. After a few short exchanges, the vehicle turned into the faculty parking access road. The rear plate was slightly tilted, but in a few clear frames, TX was readable in the right corner, Texas state designation. Keller ordered enlargement and image enhancement, cross-referencing with the National Vehicle Registration Database. Initial results confirmed over 3,000 similar vehicles registered in Texas from that production year, so no specific owner yet. However, the appearance of an out-of-state plated vehicle at the exact time Harper entered the building was the first notable detail in the file. The investigation team mapped the vehicle's movement based on internal campus road cameras. Images were fragmented. The SUV appeared at the south gate, then vanished from view turning toward faculty areas. No footage showed it exiting campus through other gates that morning. Keller ordered checking all internal parking access logs, but no card swipe matched the Texas plate. This meant the driver might have parked in an uncontrolled area or visitor lot. Communications department admin staff were interviewed. One recalled many unfamiliar visitors that week due to a seminar, hard to distinguish acquaintances, but no one reported incidents. Still, Guard Sanders' statement and camera images led Keller to suspect someone from another state appeared on campus the morning Harper vanished. He added this detail to the investigation file as a new lead to follow. Forensics tech analyzed camera frames further. They identified the model as a Chevrolet Tahoe or early 2000s Ford Explorer. Common in the southern U.S., the SUV had fog lights, roof rack, and a faint sticker on the rear window. Typically dealership decals from Houston. This finding, though not conclusive, strengthened the hypothesis the vehicle was from Texas. Keller asked, "Could the woman driving the black SUV and Professor Harper have any connection? If so, her appearance at the same time he entered McPherson Hall might not be coincidence." In the internal minutes, he noted, "Witness identified light-haired stranger asking directions to McPherson Hall on disappearance morning. Camera confirms Texas-plated vehicle same time. Need to verify driver identity and purpose at campus." The report was sent to command with a request for federal registration trace support. Though many hypotheses remained, this was the first time after nearly a week of investigation that Keller's team had a more specific detail about the possibility of a known person from another state appearing near the victim. That information temporarily opened a new investigation direction, pushing Professor Harper's disappearance beyond Columbus's internal scope. The discovery of the Texas-plated SUV led Lieutenant Keller to shift the investigation toward Professor Harper's personal relationships, hypothesizing the light-haired woman might be an out-of-state acquaintance. He requested the personnel file team to gather all personal, financial, and family relationship information for Harper over the past 5 years. Ohio State University administrative records described him as meticulous, punctual, almost never missing a lecture, rarely participating in social activities. Tax statements showed he lived single, supporting 2 young children, stable income, no debts, no suspicious financial transactions. But when Keller opened the marital status section, a notable fact appeared: Harper divorced in 2004, 2 years before the disappearance. The name on the divorce decree was Patricia Rowland, residing in Houston, Texas. Occupation listed as attorney, previously practicing in Austin before moving to Houston. Franklin County court documents showed the divorce lasted nearly 10 months, with multiple disputes over child custody and property. The final judgment granted primary guardianship to Harper, while the ex-wife received scheduled visitation rights. Additionally, Patricia was ordered to pay $900 monthly child support and not contact the children outside designated hours. Attached to the file was a temporary restraining order issued by the court in May 2004, after Harper accused his ex-wife of harassment and threats during asset division. The order expired after 6 months, but afterward the two had almost no direct contact. Keller read every page of the minutes, sensing the tension permeating the divorce. In his statement, Harper described the marriage as long fractured disagreements over work and child-rearing. He said Patricia frequently traveled for work, was highly controlling, and after he took the teaching position in Columbus, she opposed the relocation, claiming he wanted to separate from the family. Conversely, Patricia's statement accused Harper of being cold, emotionally manipulative, preventing her from seeing the children. The two accounts opposed each other, each trying to prove the other unfit to raise the kids. The legal battle dragged on until the court ruled in Harper's favor, citing his stable job, suitable living environment, and no psychological history. That decision nearly severed relations between them completely. Keller noted in the margin, complicated divorce, strong dispute elements, existing restraining order. Need to consider possible personal motive from family conflict. He continued requesting the legal department to provide information on post-divorce contacts between the parties. Results showed besides child support transactions, no letters or calls recorded in the past year. Their two children, then 10 and 13, lived with Harper in Columbus, attending a private school near home. Keller had staff conduct short interviews with the children's teachers, who confirmed Harper picked them up on time, rarely asked others. Family life seemed stable, no signs of disruption. However, one small detail in a teacher's account caught his attention. Occasionally, a woman called the office asking about the kids' schedules. She said she was a relative in Houston. This information was noted for later cross-reference. While reviewing, Keller also found an old internal Houston police report about Patricia being warned for repeatedly calling her ex-husband's home, causing disturbance. No criminal charges, but it proved she had attempted contact after divorce. The link between the disappearance and the Texas-plated SUV now became more concerning. Based on available data, Keller outlined three possibilities. First, the woman driving the vehicle was just a coincidental campus visitor. Second, she was a work acquaintance of Harper's, and third, related to an old personal relationship, specifically Patricia Rowland or someone in her family. In the weekly summary report, Keller presented his assessment. Victim experienced stressful divorce. Other party resides in Texas. Suspect vehicle from same state. Recommend verifying possible contacts between them prior to incident. A request to collect Harper's phone and email data was proposed to check for any recent communication with his ex-wife. The investigation began shifting focus from spatial scope to relational scope. With Keller's initial assessment, this disappearance might not just be a random event, but stem from a familiar past connection. After confirming the family connection and the potential for personal conflict between Harper and his ex-wife, Lieutenant Keller focused on verifying Patricia Rowland's travel itinerary around the time of the disappearance. He sent formal requests to the Houston Police Department and federal investigators to coordinate gathering information on her travel, credit card transactions, and vehicle rentals. 3 days later, data from the National Storage System arrived on his desk. In the rental list, Keller noticed a contract signed by Patricia Rowland at the Hertz Agency, Houston Intercontinental Airport, on October 26, 2006, just 2 days before Harper vanished. The rented vehicle was a black Chevrolet Tahoe, matching the model captured by OSU cameras at the campus gate. Rental term 4 days, return at the Dallas Love Field branch. Return records showed the vehicle was dropped off on October 30th, odometer increased by over 2,000 miles from pickup. The agency noted the vehicle in clean condition, no damage, but no detailed route log. When Keller requested Patricia's credit card statements for that period, bank data revealed multiple small charges, gas in Beaumont, coffee in Shreveport, Louisiana. Then a notable transaction at a gas station in Elizabethtown, Kentucky, on the morning of October 28. That payment fell right in the middle of the Houston-Columbus route on the map, proving the card user traveled north, crossing state lines. No transactions in Ohio, but the timing and distances between stops allowed Keller to calculate the mileage, nearly perfectly matching the schedule needed to reach Columbus at dawn on the day Harper disappeared. In the bank's notes, the transaction processor confirmed the card was manually swiped, no camera footage, since it was a small interstate I-65 gas station. Keller contacted Hardin County Police directly, where the station was located, requesting old security camera records. They retained only partial blurry data, unable to identify plates or faces, but the timestamp matched the payment. Though evidence was insufficient for conclusion, this transaction bridged the time gap between renting in Houston and returning in Dallas. To strengthen the travel chain, Keller continued checking automated toll systems along highways. By cross-referencing the rented Tahoe's EZ passcode, he found the vehicle passed tolls in Memphis, Tennessee, and Louisville, Kentucky, before heading southwest. Travel timestamps fit the Houston, Columbus, Dallas journey within 4 days. He created an analysis table: 10/26, pickup in Houston, 10/27, through Louisiana, 10/28, in Kentucky, 10/30, return in Dallas. The entire chain covered exactly the time frame of Harper's disappearance. When Keller reported to superiors, he emphasized that although no direct evidence placed Patricia in Ohio, her itinerary positioned her within drivable range to Columbus on the morning of October 28, and to leave the same day. The FBI checked flight lists departing Columbus for Texas in the following 2 days, but found no record of her, reinforcing the likelihood she drove back south instead of flying. For further cross-reference, Keller requested traffic camera footage along Interstate I-71, the route from Louisville to Columbus. One clip from a toll near Cincinnati captured a black SUV early morning, but the angle prevented clear plate reading. He noted in the report, vehicle and timing match subject's rental itinerary, however insufficient to confirm Ohio location. During analysis, Keller also considered other factors. Patricia's Houston law office remained operational. Her secretary confirmed she reported off 2 days for family matters. No one knew specifics, only that she had business outside the city. This information, combined with rental data, made the Texas-Columbus link increasingly clear. He added an assessment in internal minutes: subject has conflict history with victim, resides in Texas, rented matching vehicle type and timing with OSU appearance. No direct evidence, but suspicious travel pattern. From just a small Texas plate detail and blurry footage, the investigation now had concrete shape: a person once close to Harper, with means and timing to appear in Columbus the morning he vanished, then leave the state before anyone noticed. However, at that point, everything remained hypothetical, a logical chain of data, but insufficient to confirm Patricia Rowland had actually set foot in Ohio. After weeks of cross-referencing and verifying travel, Professor Daniel Harper's disappearance case began to stall. All data led to a reasonable inference, but no specific endpoint. No one found physical traces proving he left Ohio State University campus, nor evidence of crime occurring there. McPherson Hall was checked twice. All offices, technical rooms, basements, and emergency exits swept, but no blood, physical marks, or decomposition odor. Forensics determined no crime scene. Harper's private home, preserved in original state since the disappearance, revealed nothing new. The red fabric fiber was sent to the Ohio State lab, but analysis found no usable DNA. Sample too small, oxidized from prolonged air exposure. Desk fingerprints all matched Harper, no foreign prints. The briefcase remained missing, not appearing in any search area. The investigation team sequentially ruled out hypotheses: voluntary departure, abduction, accident, or harm within campus. All 4 directions lacked clear basis. Expanded searches to northern Columbus suburbs along I-71 yielded no results. Police coordinated with local rescue using helicopters and thermal scans, but no suspicious areas detected. After 3 months, resources for the case began to dry up. Internally, some suggested downgrading the file from missing with suspicious factors to adult missing contact due to no crime evidence. However, Keller objected. He argued the alignment between Patricia Rowland's travel and the black SUV at OSU could not be ignored. Still, That reasoning could not become legal action without direct witnesses or confirming evidence of her in Ohio. DNA comparison requests of Patricia with the red fiber were denied for lack of legal basis. The Franklin County Prosecutor's Office concluded, lack of specific criminal evidence, insufficient grounds for search warrant or arrest. In the end of quarter report, Keller admitted the case had hit a dead end. All they had was suspicious travel data of a Texas woman and a matching vehicle type in Columbus cameras, plus a university professor vanishing without trace. No body, no crime scene, no witnesses to suspicious acts. The investigation fell into typical deadlock. Too many theories, too little evidence. The department continued contact with Ohio State University for any new findings, maintaining open file status another 6 months. When that period passed without new data, the case was officially suspended. Original documents, scene photos, samples, and all reports were bound into 5 volumes. Idaho #06, 1128, sent to the Columbus PD Crime Records Storage. Keller, signing the transfer minutes, added a short line in his personal log: no body, no scene, no conclusion. The story without an end. Afterward, the file was placed on Shelf 3, Row C17, among the city's other unsolved disappearances. The new year arrived. Other cases piled up. Resources reallocated. Daniel Harper's name gradually vanished from routine reports. His family left Columbus, moved east. The small Clintonville house sold to a young couple. The event once buzzing in the communications department became old news. By late 2007, the department officially marked the case in the management system as inactive, pending new evidence, meaning only new proof would reopen the file. On the folder cover, Keller added in pencil, Harper, OSU, unresolved. No one knew those dry words would lie dormant in darkness for years, awaiting a slim chance to see light again. 15 years passed since Professor Daniel Harper vanished. File #06, 1128, still resting in the Columbus Police Department storage. Thick document volumes, faded scene photos, and a thin dust layer on the cover testified to the long period no one mentioned the case. Many officers involved then had retired, some transferred, and Harper's name only appeared in the data system as a short note, missing, unresolved. The city changed, Clintonville expanded, McPherson Hall renovated, the victim's family left the state. Throughout those years, no new signs emerged, no new witnesses, no additional evidence submitted. For most residents, the incident faded into oblivion, like hundreds of other unanswered missing persons files. Early 2021, after a series of police force reforms, Columbus PD decided to establish the Cold Case Unit, focusing on reviewing unsolved cases likely to yield new evidence via forensic technology advances. The initial list included over 200 cases, prioritized by potential. Lieutenant Cole Keller, then 50, was assigned to lead the team handling suspicious disappearances. Scanning the list, he recognized Harper, Daniel, OSU, 2006, an old file he himself investigated early in his career. His final pencil note on the cover remained, no scene, no body. Keller paused upon seeing it again. In memory, it was the case that haunted him most for lacking everything. No evidence, no resolution, no closure chance. At the Cold Case Unit's first meeting, he proposed prioritizing the Harper case. Reason noted in minutes, anomalies in camera records and data gap at Ohio State University. 2021, image processing and DNA analysis technology had advanced significantly from 2006, allowing recovery and recomparison of samples once deemed unusable. Keller requested file reopening, first to assess new technique applicability. The forensics lab agreed to support re-extracting analog stored camera tapes, converting to digital for enhanced clarity. Simultaneously, another team began rechecking all retained evidence, red fiber, fingerprints, and scene photos. Most evidence remained well preserved due to standard storage procedures. When Keller visited the basement records vault at headquarters, He saw the evidence box labeled Harper Case, Evidence 2006, still in original seal. He placed the box on the table, logged the receipt time. Cold Case Review, 2021. Purpose, Reinvestigation Feasibility. The storage room air was cold and dry, fluorescent lights casting on the files, making everything feel paused between eras. For Keller, returning to this case was not just professional duty, but a way to close an unfinished part of his past. In the overview evaluation meeting, Cold Case Unit members noted that among unresolved disappearances, the Harper case stood out for its complete scene emptiness. Rare. No body, no crime traces, no departure evidence. An adult man vanished mid-university campus, leaving a quiet home and a building with a 3-minute camera interruption. That same year, Ohio State University launched an infrastructure upgrade project, including McPherson Hall renovation, where Harper was last seen. Construction required the university to review technical areas, basements, and old walls, while contacting police to confirm previously sealed zones. Keller received this notice via internal department email and immediately registered to monitor progress. In the Cold Case Unit internal report, he wrote, "Rare opportunity to resweep victim's final location with modern technical conditions." After the Harper file was officially returned to the active investigation list, Keller spent many evenings rereading old statements, every scene photo. Faded lines, small details once valueless, now drew his closer attention. He particularly paused at 2 points: the interrupted camera recording and the victim's scene carrying the briefcase. Never found. Those factors convinced Keller the incident never stopped at ordinary missing. In the summary to command, he wrote briefly, "Case reopened for technical reassessment. Anomalies remain unexplained." And with that, the Harper file, after 15 years dormant in darkness, was once again placed on investigators' desks. In September 2021, during the renovation of McPherson Hall at Ohio State University, an unexpected discovery brought the seemingly forgotten disappearance of Professor Daniel Harper back into the spotlight. As the crew of workers dismantled an old partition wall in the hallway behind the second-floor chemistry lab, one of them heard a hollow sound from the brick layer when using a drill. After lightly chipping away at the mortar, they discovered a rectangular metal object inside the wall cavity, covered in dust and cobwebs, roughly the size of a document box. The site supervisor immediately ordered a halt to construction in that area and notified the university's security department. Just a few hours later, the Columbus police were contacted, and Lieutenant Keller, head of the Cold Case Unit, arrived at the scene. The metal box was carefully removed. Its surface was tarnished, the lock rusted but intact. When the lid was opened, inside were 3 items wrapped in old nylon bags: a university ID card printed with the name Daniel Harper, an old black USB drive, and a white cloth handkerchief that had yellowed with age, with faint pink makeup smudges along the edge. There were no papers or signs of any other documents. All the evidence was sealed on site, photographed according to procedure, and a receipt log was created. Keller examined each item through the sealed bags, feeling a chill run down his spine. The ID card matched the code in the 2006 file, the type issued specifically to faculty with access to McPherson Hall. The USB appeared to be from the early 2000s generation, its plastic body worn, the manufacturer's logo nearly faded. The handkerchief, though old, still carried a faint chemical scent, possibly from makeup or cleaning solution. Keller ordered the hallway area sealed off, and all second-floor construction temporarily suspended until the forensics team completed their examination. The crime scene technicians scanned the surrounding area where the box was hidden. Under ultraviolet light, no blood or other organic material was detected. But in the wall crevices there was a fine brown dust, likely a mix of cement and dirt, indicating the box had been placed during the wall's reconstruction, estimated over 10 years earlier. According to the university's architectural plans, this wall section had been repaired in 2007 after an electrical system upgrade, exactly 1 year after Harper's disappearance. That detail caught Keller's particular attention. That same day, the box and all evidence were transferred to the Columbus PD Forensics Lab. The handover report clearly stated, "Evidence discovered in McPherson Hall construction related to the 2006 Harper disappearance case." In the lab, technicians began detailed photography of each item, measurements, and documentation of preservation condition. The ID card was scanned, confirming the exact card number and name in OSU's archived system. The USB was visually inspected, the port undamaged, fully intact. The handkerchief was placed in a sterile bag, with a small section cut and sent to the DNA analysis unit to check for remaining skin cells or epithelial cells. While awaiting results, Keller prepared a preliminary report for the department command. In it, he emphasized that discovering Harper's ID card at the site of his disappearance could be the first breakthrough after 15 years. However, he cautiously noted that it cannot yet be determined when or by whom the box was placed there. At the end of the report, Keller recommended formally reopening the Harper file under official procedure, citing newly discovered evidence potentially directly related to the victim. The proposal was approved the same day. News of the metal box discovery quickly spread within the university, prompting administration to issue a notice suspending construction and fully cooperating with police. An area of nearly 50 square meters around the second-floor hallway was sealed for detailed forensic examination. In a brief cold case unit meeting that evening, Keller summarized, "We have evidence intentionally hidden in the wall containing items belonging to Harper. The discovery location is right in the building where he was last recorded. From this point, the case is officially reopened." The entry case reopened, Harper Daniel was re-entered into the Columbus PD Central System at 7:42 p.m. on September 15, 2021, marking the first time in 15 years that the file returned to active investigation status. Immediately after the evidence was handed over, Lieutenant Keller directed the digital forensics examination of the USB drive recovered from the McPherson Hall wall. Due to the device's age, the specialists had to use a dedicated reader and legacy data recovery software to avoid damaging the file structure. The extraction process took nearly 2 days, with each folder backed up and logged under forensic protocol. Results showed the drive had 256 MB capacity, containing a total of 11 data files, 7 text files, 3 email files saved as drafts, and 1 image file. All were created from a personal computer registered to user D. Harper, with word processing software, matching the old operating system he used in 2006. Notably, most files had a last modified time on October 28, the exact day he disappeared. During detailed review, a specialist discovered a file titled draft_letter. Doc, containing a draft letter to Marty McVeigh, a lawyer living in Houston, Texas, a name that appeared in Harper's email contacts. The letter was incomplete, abrupt, and showed signs of being saved in haste. "Marty, there are a few things I need your advice on. Lately, I've been feeling unsafe. I believe someone from Houston is trying to track me down. She's called a few times, and I've seen a black car parked near campus. I don't want to make a big deal, but if anything happens, you'll know who I'm talking about." The final section cut off mid-sentence, with no signature, but the sender information and formatting matched Harper's habits in other work documents. Besides this draft, the USB held 3 unsent emails, all personal. One to a colleague mentioned recent stress and referenced a woman who contacted from Texas. The last modified times for these files ranged from 5:50 to 6:15 a.m. on October 28, exactly matching the time he was last seen on campus gate camera. The single image file in the USB was a photo of a desk in the McPherson Hall office, empty of people, showing only the window frame and stacks of papers. Image metadata confirmed a compact Canon camera, the model Harper owned, taken at dawn on October 27, 1 day before his disappearance. As the files were analyzed further, the team noted the drive was never encrypted, but storage structure indicated access on the morning of disappearance, around after 6 a.m., very close to when he scanned into McPherson Hall. This raised the question, had Harper copied or prepared to send these files to someone before vanishing? Keller reread each letter segment and lingered on the detail. Someone from Houston trying to track me down. Cross-referencing the 2006 file, Houston was where Harper's ex-wife, Patricia Rowland, lived. This matching information made the USB content pivotal. He noted in the examination report, electronic documents reflect the victim's state of alert before disappearance, directly mention an individual from Texas with stalking behavior. The forensics results also showed text files had no edits after 6:17 a.m., right after Harper was filmed entering the building. No new data was created afterward. This reinforced the assumption that the USB was stored before he left the office. The forensics lab completed the report, concluding the USB was high-value investigative evidence containing personal information directly related to feelings of threat and the origin from Houston. Additionally, the handkerchief found with the metal box underwent preliminary testing with positive results. Makeup residue on the fabric was sufficient for DNA analysis. Keller read the combined report and signed off. In the cold case unit internal meeting that day, he presented, "We have digital evidence confirming the victim felt stalked by a known contact from Texas. Modification times match the disappearance exactly. This is key evidence, sufficient basis to expand the investigation." The entry "New digital evidence confirmed. Possible link to Texas contact" was updated in the Harper case system, marking the first progress in the reassessment process after 15 years on hold. As soon as the USB data recovery report was finalized, the crime lab simultaneously proceeded with the next examination step on the handkerchief recovered from the metal box. This item was considered the only potential source of biological evidence in the entire case, as recent advancements in trace DNA analysis had achieved much higher accuracy than in 2006. Forensic specialists used touch DNA method, a technique allowing extraction of tiny skin cells or biological residues on absorbent materials. Processing took nearly 10 days to avoid result errors. After cutting 3 samples from different corners of the handkerchief, they decontaminated, then amplified gene sequences at 21 characteristic loci. Comparison results were submitted to CODIS, the federal DNA database, on the morning of September 29, 2021. Soon after, the feedback made both the examination team and Keller pause to read every line carefully. The DNA sequence matched completely with the biological samples stored in Patricia Rowland's file, the victim's ex-wife. The CODIS record confirmed 99.998% similarity, ruling out random coincidence. When Keller received the official report, he was silent for a long time. The technician's concise conclusion, female DNA, results match subject Patricia Rowland, data from Texas Civil File 2003. This was the first physical evidence after 15 years directly linking a specific individual to the scene where Harper was last seen. Keller immediately requested verification of all Patricia information in Ohio State University's administrative system. HR staff reported that during the 2004 divorce, Harper had temporarily authorized his ex-wife to use a visitor badge for McPherson Hall access for picking up child and collecting personal documents. The badge was valid for 6 months and expired at the end of 2004. However, OSU security records showed that during that period, many visitor badges shared the same code series, and there was no specific record of who retained which badge after recall. This meant Patricia could have possessed a valid access badge, and in theory, if not deactivated in the system, it could still open McPherson Hall doors post-expiration. Keller requested the university security to research all 2006 access logs. An old archived report noted that before the 2007 system upgrade, entry data was stored locally, not synced to central servers, leading to many irretrievable details. In the morning swipe list for October 28, 2006, only Harper's code appeared, but Keller noticed another line logged as error just before unauthorized access, invalid time code. That log was at 6:05 a.m., just 10 minutes before Harper's swipe. He ordered that data segment backed up for review. At the same time, Keller requested forensics to check if the handkerchief DNA showed mixture. Deeper analysis with genotyper software revealed 2 DNA types, mostly female, with a very small male portion, likely Harper's. This proved the handkerchief had been used in an environment involving both or one handling the other's item. That detail made the conclusion clearer. The handkerchief was not randomly forgotten, but within the interaction range between victim and ex-wife. Keller submitted a preliminary report to Cold Case Unit Command and requested an emergency meeting. In the minutes he wrote, "Biological evidence confirms DNA of Patricia Rowland. Subject had prior access to McPherson Hall. Geographic, temporal, and personal relations all match." The report was forwarded to the Franklin County Prosecutor's Office to assess legality of expanding to federal investigation. Though still circumstantial, it changed the case's entire nature. After years seemingly closed, the investigation now had a new starting point. The first physical link between someone with conflict toward Harper and the building where he vanished. In his personal notebook, Keller wrote a single line, "The faint thread has appeared, no longer speculation." When the DNA examination results were confirmed, Lieutenant Keller decided to thoroughly review Patricia Rowland's entire travel itinerary to strengthen the chain of circumstantial evidence gradually forming. His goal was to accurately reconstruct the route she might have taken in late October 2006. The period coinciding with Professor Harper's disappearance, he requested the Data Analysis Unit to compile information from car rental contracts, credit card statements, toll road data, and gas station administrative reports along interstate highways. An electronic map was displayed on the large screen in the Cold Case Unit meeting room. A red line stretching from Houston, Texas, through Louisiana, Tennessee, Kentucky, then northward through Ohio, before turning southwest to Dallas. Each minor stop along the route was marked with confirmed transactions or evidence. The first marker was October 26, 2006, when Patricia signed a rental contract for a black Chevrolet Tahoe at the Hertz Agency in Houston Intercontinental Airport. The pickup time was morning, coinciding with the day she reported off from her law office. Credit card data showed fuel purchases in Beaumont and Shreveport the same day, indicating northward travel along I-49 toward Arkansas. The next day, October 27, she appeared on electronic toll records in Memphis, Tennessee, and that evening, a card transaction at a small hotel in Bowling Green, Kentucky. By early morning October 28, her card was swiped at a gas station in Elizabethtown, Kentucky, a transaction Keller had discovered in 2006, but couldn't verify further. The distance from Elizabethtown to Columbus was nearly 320 miles, about 5 hours of driving, enough for her to reach the city at dawn on the day Harper vanished. In the new consolidated report, Keller noted that this travel timing exactly matched the estimated window when Harper left home and appeared at the campus gate. Also that morning of October 28, OSU cameras recorded a black SUV entering the south gate of McPherson Hall in the misty dawn. Cross-referencing the rental file, the model, paint color, fog light position, and side mirror shape all matched the Chevrolet Tahoe Patricia rented in Houston. Though the license plate was illegible, the first 3 characters indicated Texas registration. By the end of October 29, she had no recorded transactions in Ohio, but on the morning of October 30, the rental contract was completed at the Hertz Dallas Love Field branch, about 4 hours from Houston. The odometer increased by over 2,000 miles, exactly the round-trip distance Houston, Columbus, Dallas. Comparing all these timestamps, Keller saw that Patricia's travel chain perfectly allowed her presence in Columbus on the morning of the incident, then returned south within the next 2 days. He had the technical unit reconstruct a 3D route, marking each stop with specific timestamps. On the screen, the travel markers formed a closed arc with no gaps. Each location came with separate evidence, gas receipts, tolls, hotel, return time. No longer a random chain, Keller wrote in the minutes. The markers align in space, time, and vehicle, directly linking to the disappearance moment. Beyond travel data, he compared the OSU camera SUV image with the rental company's model from that period. Detailed software recognition analysis showed headlight spacing, hood shape, and logo position all matching. The lab concluded it was highly likely the same vehicle type Patricia rented. Keller also cross-checked weather data to calculate travel time from Kentucky to Columbus without road condition delays. Everything fit the morning October 28 timeframe. Reviewing each marker, he realized the once scattered case pieces now had specific places. The SUV and camera Texas rental journey, DNA on the handkerchief, and Harper's final email warning about a contact from Houston. Though no direct proof of Patricia inside McPherson Hall, the continuous alignment of details made the hypothesis hard to refute. In the consolidated report to Cold Case Unit Command, Keller wrote, Houston, Columbus, Dallas itinerary fully established via physical evidence. Travel times compatible with disappearance. Vehicle matches type in OSU camera. Circumstantial evidence system now aligns, forming unified logical chain. The 12-page report ended with a familiar line Keller had written years before. No clear crime scene, but traces never vanish. The question is whether we have enough patience to connect them. After completing the travel route reconstruction, Lieutenant Keller saw the evidence chain was tight enough to revisit a witness mentioned in old files. The person Harper intended to contact before vanishing. Lawyer, Marty McVeigh, living in Houston, Texas. He was Harper's old friend from graduate school and also a social acquaintance of Patricia Rowland. In the unsent email found on the USB, Harper called McVeigh, someone trustworthy, if anything happens. Keller believed this witness might hold the final piece to place Patricia in the case timeframe. In early October 2021, Keller flew to Houston, carrying copies of the DNA results, travel schedule, and OSU camera SUV images. The meeting took place at McVeigh and Associates Law Office on the 13th floor of an old downtown building. McVeigh, now over 60, greeted Keller cautiously but cooperatively. Asked about his relationship with Harper, he said they were close university friends, lost contact for years, and maintained only indirect ties through mutual colleagues. With Patricia, he knew her through a minor legal consultation in Austin over 10 years prior. After the divorce, he occasionally saw Patricia at professional events, describing her as calm, reserved, but tending to hide emotions. When Keller mentioned October 28, 2006, the disappearance date, McVeigh nodded slowly, confirming Patricia had stopped by his office that afternoon. According to him, she arrived in the afternoon, well-dressed but tired-looking. She said she was just saying hello, that she'd been on a work trip to Dallas and was heading back to Houston, he recounted. I didn't suspect anything, but now looking back, I remember she arrived later than what she told police that year. Keller asked for clarification. McVeigh checked his preserved electronic appointment log. Patricia arrived around 4:45 p.m., stayed under 10 minutes. Meanwhile, in her 2006 statement, she claimed presence at McVeigh's office from 4:15. The 30-minute discrepancy seemed small, but to Keller, it was significant. Cross-referencing flight landings from Ohio to Texas that day, no flight allowed arrival at the office before 4:30. Plus, returning the car in Dallas on the morning of October 30th made her previous alibi now shaky. McVeigh also recalled that when leaving, Patricia seemed anxious. She got a call, stepped into the hallway to take it, speaking softly and quickly. Then she came back, forced a smile, and left right away. I remember clearly because it was the last time I saw her. Keller recorded the entire statement in the minutes and requested originals of McVeigh's notes and schedule for that week to verify times. As the interview neared its end, McVeigh opened a drawer, pulled out an old brown envelope sealed with clear tape, and placed it gently on the desk. I think you need to see this, he said. Daniel mailed me this envelope a few days before he vanished. I thought it was personal documents, never opened it. After hearing he disappeared, I didn't know who to give it to, so I kept it. Keller received the envelope with gloved hands, noting Harper's handwriting in the corner. McVeigh, personal, do not open unless necessary. The postmark was October 25, 2006, 3 days before disappearance. For the first time in years, Direct evidence sent by Harper himself was found. Keller immediately created a receipt log, photographed, and resealed the envelope per protocol. In the on-site report note, he wrote, "Statement confirms Patricia's Houston appearance time, mismatches 2006 statement. Witness provides original document sent by victim. Requires physical trace examination and content review." As Keller left McVeigh's office, Houston dusk was falling. He stepped out of the building carrying the thin envelope in an evidence bag. The scattered pieces of a disappearance seemed to be finding their places. The final entry in his temporary minutes that day read, "Subject's alibi no longer consistent. New evidence may determine motive." Upon returning to Columbus, Lieutenant Keller submitted the full McVeigh interview minutes and the unopened envelope to evidence storage, while requesting the technical unit to continue examining Ohio State University-related electronic data. He wanted to know if, on the morning of Harper's disappearance, the campus internal network recorded any unusual activity. In the 2000s, OSU used local login systems for each computer with separate internal logs. So much data was never transferred to central servers. The cold case unit technical team found in old IT storage a failed hard drive, originally from McPherson Hall Network Administration, sealed since 2007. After recovery with specialized equipment, they discovered a log file named access_2006.log, recording user activity for that October. When opened, the data lines clearly showed date, time, and username. At around 7 a.m. on October 28, 2006, there was a notable login user Prowland_TX, connection duration 4 minutes 36 seconds, workstation ID MCH03, Harper's office computer. The next line logged file opened, schedule_lecture.doc, the exact lecture schedule file. Police had seen open on his home screen during checks. No further activity followed. The username Prowland_TX immediately caught Keller's attention. He recognized Roland matching Patricia's last name with TX as Texas state code. Though unable to confirm who created the account, the possibility of someone from Texas using a dedicated account to access Harper's computer on the exact disappearance day made prior suspicions clearer. Keller requested the unit to trace the session's original IP address. Results showed an IP in OSU's internal range, assigned to a second-floor McPherson Hall network port, the same floor as Harper's office, meaning the login occurred directly inside the building, not remotely. Cross-referencing camera data, the network activity timestamp nearly exactly matched the moment Harper was seen entering the building, off by less than 2 minutes. This data confirmed someone else used his computer within the disappearance window. While Keller compiled the report, the forensics lab completed another examination he had previously requested, comparing 2006 fingerprint samples with newly updated databases. One print on the second-floor technical storage room door handle, previously unidentified, now matched successfully via automated recognition technology. That fingerprint matched Patricia Rowland's civil file sample with a 1 in 10 million match rate. The handle location was in a low-traffic area, not the main hallway, mainly for technical staff and authorized faculty. Patricia's name was not on the valid access card list at the time, but as Keller had discovered, she once had a visitor badge issued during the divorce, potentially still active if the system wasn't updated. The combination of electronic data and physical traces completed the evidence chain. Patricia's DNA on the hidden handkerchief, an account nearly matching her name logging into the victim's computer at the exact disappearance moment, and her fingerprint at the technical area on the same floor, all converged on one location and single time frame. Keller spent hours reviewing all documents to ensure legal validity before requesting an arrest warrant. He double-checked each part personal connection between Patricia and Harper. Houston, Columbus, Dallas journey, black SUV with Texas plates and camera, and now forensics results, 3 independent but supporting evidence groups. In the submission to the Franklin County Prosecutor's Office, Keller wrote, "Technical data confirms unauthorized login to victim's computer on morning of October 28, 2006, from McPherson Hall, internal IP. Fingerprint on technical area door handle matches Patricia Rowland's file. Physical and digital evidence indicate subject's presence at scene during incident. He concluded, file meets legal standards to request arrest and search warrant for subject. As Keller signed the final submission, the weight that had lingered for 15 years seemed to recede a step. Once scattered facts now connected into a seamless picture. Professor Harper's disappearance, unsolved for so long, finally had a clear direction toward the truth. In early April 2022, after the consolidated file was transferred to the Franklin County Prosecutor's Office, a federal judge officially signed and approved the arrest and extradition warrant for Patricia Rowland on preliminary charges, including unauthorized entry, electronic data forgery, and suspicion related to Professor Daniel Harper's disappearance. Lieutenant Cole Keller received the notification on the morning of April 4th. He immediately contacted the FBI Houston office to coordinate execution. Per the plan, the federal investigation team would handle the arrest, while Columbus PD representatives would participate as the initiating agency. After 15 years pursuing this file, Keller finally held the document, allowing the suspect to be brought to light. 2 days later, the joint team of 3 FBI Houston agents and 2 Columbus investigators arrived at the West University Place residential area where Patricia was living. The 2-story house was on a small oak-lined street, about a 15-minute drive from downtown. According to civil sources, she still practiced freelance law, living with her sister Teresa Rowland, mentioned in old files as the only relative maintaining regular contact. On the morning of April 6th at 7 o'clock, agents surrounded the area. As Keller stepped out of the vehicle, he saw a gray SUV parked in front of the garage, Texas plates, similar style to the one she rented in 2006, though a newer model. Observation team signals indicated 2 women inside. When the door opened, a light-haired woman stepped out, Patricia herself. She wore a white blouse, unusually calm. Inside, Teresa stood at the staircase entrance, eyes wary. An agent read the arrest warrant aloud, presenting federal court papers. Keller stood silently observing. Throughout the process, Patricia did not resist, only asking briefly for the Ohio matter, saying nothing more. She allowed the figure-8 cuffs to tighten on her wrists, face expressionless. Teresa stepped forward a few paces, trying to ask, "What is she accused of?" Keller replied curtly, "Related to the Harper case, 2006. Hearing the name, Teresa's eyes flickered, then she stepped back, gripping the banister tightly. In the scene report, officers noted all items left in place, no search conducted. Patricia was led to the vehicle in silence, head slightly bowed. Neighbors stood at a distance, watching the scene unfold without understanding. As the vehicle left the area, Keller turned back to thank FBI Houston for support, then signed the temporary suspect handover report. Per procedure, Patricia was taken to the Houston Federal Detention Center for medical evaluation and extradition paperwork completion. Immediately after, the Columbus court issued an order to transfer to Ohio within 72 hours. While awaiting transport, Keller spent time reviewing all evidence to prepare for interrogation. He knew this was the only chance to hear direct testimony from the person likely knowing what happened inside McPherson Hall that 2006 morning. On April 9th, the special flight carrying the suspect departed Houston early morning. On the plane, Patricia maintained absolute silence. She wore glasses, eyes fixed out the window, avoiding all questions. Upon landing in Columbus, the escort team handed her over to local police. Keller met the group at the airport, signed the receipt report, then with 2 officers took her directly to headquarters on Front Street. There, the interrogation room was prepared. Steel table, 2 facing chairs, surveillance camera. At 1:25 p.m., Patricia Rowland was officially recorded as a suspect in Professor Daniel Harper's disappearance. File hash 06-1128. When the recording officer informed her of the right to remain silent, she only nodded, not immediately requesting counsel. Keller sat opposite, observing the woman before him, seen in files, statements, scattered data over nearly 2 decades. Now everything seemed to converge. She was in Houston the day he vanished. Travel itinerary matched. Her fingerprint on McPherson Hall door handle, her DNA on the hidden handkerchief, and an internal network account similar to her name logging into the victim's computer that morning. In the report to Department Command, Keller wrote briefly, "Arrest warrant executed April 6, 2022 in Houston, Texas. Suspect Patricia Rowland, 52, arrested at residence, witnessed by Sister Teresa Rowland, no resistance. Subject safely extradited to Columbus for interrogation." The final line in his report closed the part Keller had pursued for nearly half his life. After 16 years, the suspect finally appears, not just a name on paper, but a flesh-and-blood person sitting in front. The formal interrogation began on the morning of April 10, 2022, at Columbus Police Headquarters. The room was soundproofed, white light shining straight onto the cold steel table. Lieutenant Keller sat opposite Patricia Rowland, before him a file over 400 pages thick, containing all evidence accumulated over 16 years. A ceiling-mounted camera recorded every movement, another officer monitoring outside. Initially, Patricia remained composed. She answered briefly, denying all involvement. "I wasn't in Ohio, never left Texas at that time." Keller did not react, opening photos one by one, placing them on the table, the black SUV at the campus gate, Houston rental receipt, Kentucky toll record, and DNA results on white paper. When the last sheet was placed, the room fell heavy. She glanced over, lips trembling slightly, then turned away. Keller spoke slowly, voice steady. "We don't need your confession. The facts speak for themselves." He applied no pressure, only letting silence fill the gap. After nearly half an hour, Patricia sighed, leaning back in the chair, hands gripping her sleeves. "I didn't mean to," she said softly, almost whispering. Keller looked straight into her eyes, saying nothing. She began recounting, voice halting. She said that morning she came to Columbus alone, driving overnight from Kentucky. She wanted to meet Harper, to talk definitively about changing support agreements and visitation. According to her, they had spoken by phone several times the previous month, but talks went nowhere. She believed Harper was blocking her from seeing the child, so she decided to come in person. At the campus gate, she stopped to ask security for directions to McPherson Hall, then drove into the faculty area. She parked in the auxiliary lot behind the building, using an old visitor badge to open the door, as the system still recognized it. "I thought he'd be surprised to see me, but not angry," she said. "I just wanted him to hear me out." According to her account, they met in the second-floor hallway. Harper was shocked and reacted harshly, demanding she leave. Both raised voices, and during the argument, he pushed her arm away as she approached. She reflexively pulled back. Harper lost balance, slipped, and fell onto the tile floor. "I thought he was just stunned," Patricia recounted, eyes vacant. "But when I called, he didn't respond," she said, bending down. She saw his head hit the metal table edge, blood flowing heavily. She panicked, ran from the building, got in the car, and drove aimlessly. By afternoon, she returned to the small Kentucky hotel, unsure what to do. That night, she called her sister Teresa, saying something terrible happened. According to her, Teresa advised returning to clean up, before others discovered. At dawn the next day, the sisters returned to Columbus in the same car. She said Harper was still in the technical hallway, unnoticed as the area was empty. Teresa helped drag the body into the technical storage and used a handkerchief to wipe blood from the tile. "That was the handkerchief in the box," Patricia said, voice choking. Afterward, they opened the rear service door, used a small cart to move the body outside. They drove around to the North Campus area, where an old abandoned lab building stood for years. "I'd been there before when he worked with chemistry. I knew the old basement entrance." She described opening the basement door, dragging the body down the stairs, placing it near old storage, then leaving. She said Teresa suggested silence, and returning to Texas that night. When Keller asked why she later went to Dallas to return the car, she replied, "I just wanted everything to look normal. Throughout the statement, her voice stayed even, only choking at mentions of Harper. Keller noted every sentence, requiring her to sign the minutes for confirmation. When he asked why hide the metal box in the wall, she said days later, she returned to Columbus once more, carrying some of Harper's items still in the car. "I thought if left in the wall, no one would find it," she said, eyes down. "I don't know why I kept that handkerchief. Maybe I was just panicking." Keller was silent for a long while, then signaled the recording officer to stop. The minutes were printed, over 30 pages. Patricia read and signed each sheet without objection. After signature confirmation, Keller notified the Field Investigation Unit to prepare a search team per her statement. In that day's work log, he wrote briefly, "Subject admits meeting Harper at McPherson Hall. Morning of October 28, 2006. Argument, victim falls and dies. Body moved same night by Patricia and sister Teresa Rowland. Hidden in North Campus old lab building basement storage. Begin body recovery operation." After 16 years, the story finally had words from the person involved, and the silence enveloping the Harper disappearance began to dissolve. On the morning of April 12, 2022, 2 days after Patricia Rowland signed the confession minutes, Lieutenant Keller launched the search operation per her statement. The location was the old chemistry lab building in Ohio State University's north area, nearly a mile from McPherson Hall. The building had been abandoned since 2008 after a new research complex was built. Most lower levels sealed due to structural decay. University archives noted it was once used for experiment sample and teaching file storage, then left vacant with basement access sealed for safety. At 7 a.m., the area was cordoned in a 200-meter radius. Forensics technicians, scene survey unit, and OSU support team participated. Keller stood outside, watching as specialists cut the rusted lock at the rear basement door. Damp, heavy metallic air rose from below. High-power floodlights were arranged along the path, illuminating each dusty step. At the staircase end, an old metal door opened to a small space once equipment storage. Patricia had accurately described the location in her statement. Left corner at hallway end, where the old sample dryer and cement floor relayed after flooding. The technical team began measuring with ground-penetrating radar to detect structural changes beneath the floor. After several scans, an anomaly appeared in the room center, a rectangular area about half a meter deep, nearly 2 meters long. Keller ordered the position marked, then allowed forensics to drill and cut. The grinder noise echoed in the tight space. The first cement layer was removed, revealing dark soil beneath. Just over 2 hours later, a small bone fragment appeared at the pit edge, followed by dark fabric and a round metal piece like a watch frame. The entire area was immediately cordoned in a 3-meter radius. All activity halted for photography, measurement, and evidence positioning. As more soil was removed, the human skeleton gradually emerged. Skull tilted right, left arm folded across chest. Nearby a broken leather strap watch and an old dusty briefcase, leather cracked but lock intact. No doubt remained. Forensics had found the body sought for 16 years. Keller stood motionless, hands clasped, feeling time stand still. He called command to report the discovery, then ordered continued excavation per protocol. All remains were carefully collected, placed in specialized bags, along with personal evidence, watch, briefcase, remaining fabric. Everything was transferred immediately to the Ohio State Forensics Lab for identification. That evening, Keller and the forensic specialist were at the testing center. In the cold room, evidence bags were unsealed. The leather briefcase still faintly showed engraved D. Harper, the Seiko watch, with to Daniel, 1995, on the back. But he still needed scientific confirmation. A femur bone sample was taken for DNA comparison with Harper's 2003 medical file sample. Analysis software took nearly 36 hours. On the morning of April 14th, official results were sent to Keller's desk, 99.99% match, with Daniel Harper's DNA sample, identity confirmed. He sat silently staring at the line, feeling the weight on his shoulders for years finally lifted. In the Columbus PD internal bulletin, the first line read, "After 16 years, Professor Daniel Harper's remains found at North Campus Old Lab Building, Ohio State University. Identity confirmed via DNA." That same day, specialists opened the recovered briefcase. Inside were teaching documents, a personal notebook, and a few family photos. Nothing else indicated disturbance. All were sealed and stored as supplemental evidence. Keller reread Patricia's statement. Every detail nearly perfectly matched the scene: position, body orientation, new cement floor, and her saying the briefcase was next to him. No signs of post-burial movement. Forensics concluded death by cranial trauma. No evidence of weapon homicide, consistent with described fall and head impact. Official report determined time of death, morning of October 28, 2006. From excavation scene to examination results, every detail closed the nearly two-decade investigation circle. That afternoon, Keller stepped out of the forensics center, watching Columbus sky turn pale gray. He wrote the final line in the report: "Daniel Harper's body has been found. Case officially transfers to prosecution phase." After 16 years, the final answer has appeared. The trial of Patricia Rowland opened on the morning of November 3, 2022, nearly half a year after Professor Daniel Harper's body was exhumed. The large courtroom of the Franklin County Court was packed with people, including reporters, Ohio State University students, and those who had known the victim. In the front row, Lieutenant Cole Keller sat quietly, his old notebook placed on his lap. After 16 years, the case he had initiated as a young investigator had now become one of the most closely watched trials in the city of Columbus. Patricia was led into the courtroom in a gray prison jumpsuit, her hair heavily streaked with silver, her face gaunt but still maintaining a calm demeanor. Beside her was the court-appointed defense attorney, while the prosecution bench was occupied by Assistant District Attorney Lauren McCready, who handled backlog cases. In the opening statement, McCready presented to the jury the entire chain of evidence: the defendant's confession, matching DNA results, login data to OSU's internal network using the account Prowland_TX, her fingerprints on the technical storage room door handle, along with the recovered physical evidence, the handkerchief, USB drive, employee badge, and the exhumation site of the body. The prosecution asserted that this was a complete logical chain, proving the defendant was present at the scene, caused Harper's death, and deliberately concealed the crime for 16 years. McCready stated clearly, this was not a mere accident, but a series of intentional actions: unauthorized meeting, university facility intrusion, moving and hiding the body, destroying evidence. An innocent person does not do all those things. The defense attorney did not deny the physical evidence, but attempted to frame the case as involuntary manslaughter. He argued that Harper's death was an accident during a scuffle, without intent to kill, and that hiding the body was a consequence of panic. "Miss Rowland is not a cold-blooded killer," he said in court. "She is a mother who was once desperate, cornered after a bitter divorce, acting out of fear and guilt." Over the 2-week trial, more than 14 witnesses were called. Forensic experts described in detail how they found the handkerchief with Patricia's DNA in the wall of McPherson Hall, and how touch DNA technology had reopened the case. Representatives from OSU's technical department confirmed that the 2006 network logs were indeed from Harper's workstation, impossible to forge, and that the login with the Prowland_TX account matched the timing of the camera disruption that morning. Another expert presented comparison images between the SUV and the campus gate camera and the vehicle Patricia rented in Houston, pointing out more than 8 structural similarities. The most emotional part was the testimony of Teresa Rowland, the defendant's sister, who was granted immunity in exchange for honest testimony. Teresa admitted to helping her sister return to Columbus that night to clean up and move Harper's body. Her voice trembled as she recounted the scene of the two sisters silently dragging the body out of the building, using a cart to transport it through the dark hallway. "I knew it was wrong," she said, But I was afraid of losing my sister, afraid everything would collapse. We thought no one would find out. Her testimony left the courtroom in dead silence. Patricia bowed her head, her hands clasped tightly, tears falling silently. When it was Keller's turn to testify, he presented the 16-year investigation process, step by step reconnecting scattered data points to uncover the truth. He concluded his statement with a remark that silenced the entire courtroom: "No case is truly closed if there are still people seeking answers." On sentencing day, the prosecution charged 3 counts: involuntary manslaughter, tampering with evidence, and obstruction of justice. McCready emphasized, even if the cause of death was accidental, hiding the body and deceiving the law for 16 years was intentional conduct and cannot be tolerated. The defense attorney requested leniency, arguing that Patricia had cooperated and confessed the full truth while enduring significant psychological trauma after Harper's death. But the jury was not persuaded. After 3 hours of deliberation, they returned to the courtroom, and the foreperson stood to read the verdict. Defendant Patricia Rowland is found guilty on all 3 counts. The entire courtroom fell silent. Patricia closed her eyes, her hands trembling, but she did not protest. When the judge pronounced the sentence, he read each word clearly. For the charge of causing death by reckless conduct, the court sentences the defendant to 15 years in prison. For evidence tampering, 10 years. For obstruction of justice, 10 years. Combined sentence, 35 years imprisonment, with no parole in the first 12 years. The atmosphere in the courtroom sank into heavy silence. Keller looked toward the defense table, where Patricia was being escorted to stand. She glanced back briefly at the prosecution side, not seeking pity, but as if accepting a predetermined outcome. As the courtroom doors closed, Keller could only hear the dry clank of handcuffs against metal, ending a journey he had pursued for half his life. In his final report submitted to Columbus PD, he wrote briefly, "Harper case, resolved. Justice comes late, but it comes." In December 2022, nearly 2 months after the trial ended, the Columbus Police Department released a comprehensive investigative summary report titled Operation Harper Review. This was a thorough compilation of one of the longest and most complex missing persons cases in Ohio state history, as well as an internal evaluation of the handling, storage, and recovery of backlog case files over more than 15 years. The report, over 180 pages thick, was compiled by the Cold Case Unit under the direct supervision of Lieutenant Cole Keller, who had been in charge of the case from the very first days until its closure. The report's introduction clearly stated its objectives, summarized the investigation process of Daniel Harper's disappearance, analyzed developments, evidence, initial errors, and factors leading to case resolution. It opened with a line personally written by Keller, bolded on the first page. "No disappearance is completely mysterious, only investigations that have not gone far enough." In the narrative section, Columbus PD noted that the Harper file was initially suspended in 2007 due to lack of specific criminal evidence. The report acknowledged that the initial investigation phase had overlooked some valuable details, particularly the appearance of the Texas-plated SUV and the interrupted analysis of red fabric fibers due to technological limitations at the time. When the Cold Case Unit was established in 2021, these errors were viewed as typical lessons on the importance of long-term evidence preservation. Part 2 of the report, Timeline and Evidence Reconstruction, detailed the process of reconnecting the files from discovering the metal box in the wall of McPherson Hall, recovering USB data, DNA identification using 2021 Touch DNA technology, to reconstructing the Houston, Columbus, Dallas journey. Each step was presented with charts, crime scene photos, travel maps, and timeline comparison tables. The report also highlighted key turning points. 1. Evidence found at OSU, including employee badge, USB, handkerchief, initiating the file reopening. 2. Digital forensics. Recovery of Harper's draft email mentioning an acquaintance from Houston. 3. DNA results confirming Patricia Rowland's presence in McPherson Hall. 4. Fingerprints and network logs, confirming unauthorized access to the victim's computer from an internal IP address. 5. Testimony, leading to the discovery of the body and document briefcase. The report dedicated a separate chapter to analyzing why the case dragged on, lack of linkage between physical and digital data, limitations of 2006 forensic technology, and delays in processing interstate evidence. Keller wrote in this chapter's conclusion, "Cases without a body are easily labeled unsolved mysteries, but in reality, every small detail is a clue waiting for the right moment to reveal itself." Part 3 of Operation Harper Review focused on examination procedures and federal collaboration. Columbus PD acknowledged the roles of the Ohio State Forensic Lab, FBI Houston, and Ohio State University's Technical Department in providing data and excavation support. The report described the search for Harper's body as proof of the value of multi-agency cooperation. From a vague testimony about the old lab area north of campus, the technical team used ground-penetrating radar and floor-layer excavation procedures, resulting in the discovery of remains, watch, and intact document briefcase. It is evidence that technology and persistence can illuminate even cases thought to have faded into oblivion. In the Lessons Learned section, the report outlined 5 main recommendations for investigative units. 1. Long-term evidence preservation. All biological samples, no matter how small, must be stored under conditions allowing future reanalysis with new technology. File digitization. Old records need to be converted to digital formats to prevent data loss like in the OSU network logs. 3. Interstate connection tracking. Cases involving multiple states require automated data exchange processes between agencies. 4. Cold case investigator training. Enhance skills in analyzing old evidence and using new forensic technology. 5. Strengthened coordination with educational institutions, since many cases occur on university campuses with unique security management characteristics. The report also emphasized the pivotal role of Lieutenant Keller, who maintained file tracking for 16 years. In the appendix, he was quoted, "I do not see this as a successfully solved case, but as one completed in accordance with duty. Every year a case lingers is a year justice is delayed." On December 18, 2022, at Greenlawn Cemetery, Professor Daniel Harper's body was reburied after a memorial service organized by Ohio State University. More than 200 people attended, including colleagues, former students, and Columbus PD representatives. Next to the gravestone engraved 1954, 2006, found 2022, finally home, Keller placed a white flower and stood silently for a long time. For him, it was not just the moment to close a case, but the end of a long journey seeking answers for a forgotten person. In the final part of Operation Harper Review, Columbus PD declared file #06-1128, updated to case status, solved, body recovered, conviction secured. The report's last line, handwritten by Keller before signing for confirmation, is a sentence later quoted by many police academies as a professional reminder. No disappearance is completely mysterious, only investigations that have not gone far enough. On December 30, 2022, after the report was publicly released, the Columbus Police Department officially closed the Daniel Harper case file. A red stamp was placed on the final cover page, solved, body recovered. From then on, file #06-1128 was no longer on the city's cold case list. The disappearance that had stumped investigators for over a decade was finally closed. A complete ending to a journey of belated justice, but one that still arrived where it belonged. The story of the Daniel Harper case is not just the journey of cracking a 16-year backlog file, but also reflects many aspects of modern American society, where technology, law, and faith in justice are always intertwined between progress and human limitations. In this incident, one can see the silence of small errors, a red fabric fiber overlooked, a network log unchecked, or a forgotten computer account that delayed justice for many years. But those very errors became profound lessons that no detail is meaningless when it comes to the truth. In today's America, where forensic technology and digital data are shaping every field, the Harper story reminds us of the importance of preserving and respecting evidence, whether in the legal system or in personal life. An unsent email, forgotten data, or an unspoken memory can all be the key to justice, to truth, or to reconciliation. At the same time, the tragedy between Harper and Patricia Rowland also shows the consequences of uncontrolled anger and obsession. In modern American society, where personal pressures and family conflicts can lead to extreme behavior, seeking psychological support, marriage counseling, and emotion management is essential. Ultimately, from the efforts of Lieutenant Cole Keller, who persistently pursued the case to the end, we see the beautiful image of unwavering faith in justice. It is a reminder that justice may come late, but as long as people do not give up, it will always arrive. If you believe that justice, even if late, is worth seeking, please subscribe to the channel to join us in continuing to explore cold cases illuminated after years of silence. Thank you for following the story of the Daniel Harper case. See you in the next video, where every small clue can unlock a great truth.